policing the police every single day. And doing what the Charlotte County Sun newspaper and local TV stations won't do every single day.
As things wrapped up, a Black Lives Matter protest showed up, and many took exception to it, saying it was uncalled for.
You guys forgot a couple of your signs. I picked them up from some of your protests. Defund the police. What does defund the police mean? Does it mean reform the police? Because if it did, you would say reform the police. Here we go, I like this one. No lives matter until Black Lives Matter. Again, another sign that says no lives matter. How about the lives of the black youth on the south side of Chicago where I'm from? Do their lives matter? Of course not. Of course not.
That fellow's name is Gary Snow. He's a well-known Blue Lives Matters advocate. Many of our local journalists painted a very negative picture about him, but they didn't get any context and asked him why he was so angry. A couple weeks ago, Gary attended a protest here in Fort Myers organized by this same group, and here's what happened.
Here to join the candlelight vigil for George Floyd, and I'm also out here to hold a candlelight vigil for Officer Dave Underwood, who was shot and killed Friday by a protester in Oakland, California. Don't touch it, don't touch it. Don't touch it. Don't touch it. Don't touch it. Hands up, don't shoot. Hands up, don't shoot. Hands up, don't shoot. Hands up, don't shoot. Hands up. Hands up, don't shoot. Hands up, don't shoot. This is called freedom of speech. It's freedom of speech. It's for his life. It's in honor of his life.
So according to this woman, it's okay for people to counter-protest a police appreciation event, but it's not okay for Gary to attend their events. In all fairness, this protest was completely peaceful. I did get the chance to speak with many people from both sides of the issue, and we had a healthy debate on this.
This is an event to actually stand for fallen officers. And if you're trying to use this event to try to make your point, I just find it to be in bad taste. This is something that's not to be done. I think there's plenty of opportunity for you to try to bring your politics or to have your protests.
The message is clear at the end of the day, no matter what the actions, portray. But as long as the message is out there and somebody's listening, that message can be carried on from a family member, a friend, co-worker. It moves on, and that's how we're going to get across.
About what happened to George Floyd, almost unilaterally, everybody agrees it was a tragedy. But what has happened is the outcome of that is what's starting to divide the country. Because no, a lot of Americans don't believe in riots. They don't believe in looting. Guess what? That's white Americans, that's black Americans. But because you don't say you're for Black Lives Matter, then all of a sudden you're against black lives, that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my life. And that's what's destroying and dividing the country.
And what we've seen after the wake of George Floyd is that Black Lives Matter is a political movement. This is a Democratic, Marxist-funded political movement.
I don't agree with the organization. The organization is a Marxist organization. A lot of their mission statement and their background is actually something that is found in black liberation theology, which is a Marxist ideology, which is one that seeks to actually try to improve black lives through the destruction of the country.
Well, I think the Black Lives Matter organization is made up of believers in black lives, which is what you see here today. So it's hard to criticize an entire organization when the organization is made up of individuals, and the individuals that you see here today are showing up in the spirit of love. We aren't hateful. We aren't here to destroy America and America's values, but we want to hold America accountable so that she can live up to our highest creed.
My name is Chris Knudsen. I'm with the Activist Protection League of Southwest Florida.
So they had to create an organization to train their protesters
on how to effectively and safely get the
not getting
out.
violent. Yes.
Yeah. We kept it to people that we know that could deliver the message peacefully and quietly. That's what we aim to do. I think they'll lose some of our message when the violence comes out.
some people just don't handle their emotions properly. They're hurt, they're wounded, they're bleeding from their personal experiences in life.
But ultimately what you need to understand is that rioting it's a natural phenomenon. If you heat water up, it's going to boil.
For the people in America who want to stand for justice to be done, whether you're talking about George Floyd or Breonna Taylor or Ahmaud Arbery, that's a good and just thing to do. If you then want to take those terrible actions in our country and use it to move Marxism and to promote Marxism and to promote a radical ideology with this really an anathema to America, against American values, then I can't stand with you, and I'm against that.
I truly applaud everyone for keeping the calm, and I wish every single protester across the country could see this group and follow their example. Thanks for watching.
Hey everyone, so things are getting a little heated here at the law enforcement rally at Centennial Park in Fort Myers. So it was a law enforcement appreciation rally that they were having, so you could see all the supporters here, everyone here that was supporting law enforcement and just doing a law enforcement rally, not necessarily anything against Black Lives Matter, but then a Black Lives Matter protest, counter protest showed up. So things are starting to get a little tense here. They're kind of, we got the people at the, yes sir.
Are you with these guys?
With who?
Are you with this guy?
No, I'm independent. Sorry, I'm being asked questions right now. I'm live right now on Facebook, just kind of showing. I'm an independent reporter.
I'm just trying to figure out why you have to pick Black Lives Matter or Blue Lives Matter.
I plan on asking those questions. I'm asking everyone the questions here. I'm just kind of an observer and just showing what's going on.
Why you have to be, if you support the blue, why you can't support Black Lives Matter?
Yeah.
I don't know why you can't do Black Lives Matter.
It's a fair question. No, yeah.
What do you report for?
I'm independent. I used to work at Wink, but now I'm an independent reporter in the area.
Can I ask you a question? How come I can't do that?
Blue lives matter. No. If we say all lives matter, young lady right here, all lives matter. You're not allowed to do that. You're a racist, and your white privileges only allow you to do that. So, if you have respect for the sanctity of life, and you respect all lives, we're not going to put a race in front of lives. We're not going to connotate what race, whose life matters and whose life doesn't. If you did, I would see you again on the south side of Chicago. Wait till the statistics come out at the end of this week. How many lives were lost in Chicago? The leading cause of death for African-American males between the age of 15 and 35 is homicide. Not by the police, not by Donald Trump. I think you know who are killing the Black lives in Chicago.
Any veterans out there? Of course not. But the mama, they're living in mama's basement too long. Oh, they're all on unemployment.
Even the veterinarian or a vegan or a... This is Rachel Bass. Am I right? Rachel? I'm trying to get to know everybody. This is Rachel Bass. She's going to call you a racist if you're a white, support Trump, and say all lives matter. Well, that just makes you a racist.
Oh, yeah.
Chantel Lawrence, she said that she was not going to judge the looting and the rioting and the killing. She's not going to judge those people out there burning down black communities, burning down black-owned businesses, killing 38-year veterans of law enforcement.
So for everyone that is joining in on my live video that wasn't here at the start, I'm at a law enforcement appreciation rally at Centennial Park in Fort Myers. And just when things were about to wrap up with speeches and everything, a Black Lives Matter protest came that is counter-protesting the rally. And now I'm just kind of watching and observing and showing you what's going on. Things are, they're tense in wording, but, relatively peaceful. No one's getting anyone's face or anything like that. So nothing to worry about on that front. So we're just going to keep watching and see what happens.
The movement itself is a hoax. Black lives matter, all lives matter. America believes that lives still matter. But we never have a Marxist-trained organization whose leader in New York says we've got to bond down.
Would anyone answer any questions if I just asked some questions? Would you answer? Would you mind if I ask you a couple questions? I'm just an independent journalist just trying to ask fair questions. Do you have any response to... What was it? What? I'm independent. I was just here covering the event. I didn't even know that you guys were coming, to be honest. My name is Brendan Leslie. You can find... I just want to know, do you have any response to like everything that he's saying? Okay.
Support legislation. Start acting like domestic terrorists. Yeah, domestic terrorism. And real quick, because I got the media here. So we got the media. A lot of people are wearing masks, some aren't wearing masks. Every single one of these people are wearing masks. I guarantee you, what news is going to say, NBC News is going to say, all these people are out here spreading COVID. I walked with Black Lives Matter for 3 weeks. They congregated by the hundreds. They didn't wear masks. For the last month, they congregated. All of a sudden, we got COVID numbers spiking. Oh, but you guys didn't have nothing to do with that, did you? Nationwide protest, no masks, protest. But you didn't have nothing to do with the COVID rise, no? No. It's just these people out here. These are the spreaders, right? These are the ones that are going to get ridiculed for not wearing a mask. Right? That's how the narrative goes. That's how NBC's going to say. Gotcha. What's up, Gigi Lolo? Should I go say hi today, Gigi? I got you. We're silent today. Silent today. You got a lot to say. You want to call cops all bastards, all cops are bastards. Why don't you get vocal? Tell these cops they're bastards. Right, no. It's our thing. That could be yours. Never come to mind. You want to say all cops are bastards? Tell us to their face. You want to call them pigs? Get up there and call them a pig. You want to defund the police?
It's important to note everything that's being said by this gentleman here with the counter protests. The Black Lives Matter protest didn't come and say anything specific to everyone here. They just came silently, holding fists in the air, and then they just sat down next to the law enforcement rally. So many of the comments he's making are against maybe things you see on national TV or other protests. But here, the Black Lives Matter, what did happen was they just came in quietly with their fists in the air, and they sat down and they've just been quiet. I've been trying to ask questions you might have saw earlier in the video, and they're just kind of silently sitting here. So things are just pretty much at a stalemate right now.
Who said Black Lives don't matter? Nobody. No answers. You guys are very vocal the last month, but today, silence is violence. I thought silence was violence. Hey, white people out here, all this white silence, this white privilege, this is violence. Come on, speak it. Tell us. Tell us how to act faster. Tell them. You can't.
You lost your message. You lost your message. No, we're right. Your message is gone.
I'm saying I'm agitated. Shit.
The first few days you're the whole country behind. Now you have 90% of the country against it. You're a Marxist fascist group. Period. You're racist.
Whenever I say Blue Lives Matter, everybody wants to say, well, do you support Marxists? How can you support a blue wall? It's the occupation. It's the uniform that they wear. I support a multicultural organization of police officers. The uniform that they wear happens to be blue.
It's going to be really interesting to see how the local news stations here cover this story. They were all here originally for the appreciation rally for law enforcement, and every station had a reporter here, including the newspapers. And then I wasn't aware of a counter protest coming, so I'm curious to see how these news stories are shaped later. I'm going to be definitely keeping an eye on that. But this has been. I was not aware of this counter protest coming. I had a feeling in the back of my head that it was going to happen. But also important to note that this law enforcement rally, it was nothing against Black Lives Matter. They weren't, never once were the words uttered. They weren't saying anything bad about them. It was literally just here to say that they appreciate the law enforcement and they're upset with how the national coverage, the talking heads on the national media have been really hard against law enforcement. That was literally what it was. And then the Black Lives Matter protest came in silently and sat down, and they are still sitting down while a couple of the law enforcement rally attendees are kind of facing off with the protesters.
One just died last night. 2 white women ran down on a highway. 2 white women. Who ran them over? A black woman. You know all the protesters, those white women? Those protesters that were killed, that ran down during a protest by a black man? Or does that not fit your agenda?
No, think about it. Listen to what he's saying. You're listening. Look at that head, he's clicking. It's being used.
Yeah, they're not saying a word. Ladies matter. Ladies matter.
Putting race before law is better. In itself is racist. You know I'm not a racist, Chris. You know I'm not.
Stop with the Black Lives Matter. Americans matter. Everybody matters. Enough with this nonsense. This little Democratic coup raising money. The Democrats, not about freedom. Don't go away, man. Just go away. You're a 19-year-old boy, and you wouldn't let the police go in and save him.
A 6-year-old baby was murdered too. Nobody talks about that.
All right, so things are calming down a little bit despite what I just showed you. A bunch of the people from the law enforcement side kind of walked away from the protests. So I'm going to get back to work and start shooting events, getting interviews. I'm going to be working on a vlog for this. I thought it was going to be all about law enforcement appreciation, but apparently now we're going to have to cover that there was counter protests here, so that sucks. I mean, it's their right to be here, but I was really looking forward to just doing a law enforcement piece. I think this is what kind of causes division. It's just all these tense moments that are kind of unnecessary when we should really all be united in one front. That is just kind of like my own little take about it. So now what? Now I'm getting yelled at for a second. What? I'm not saying anything about them. I'm just saying I was here covering the event. That was it. I didn't know about the counter protests, but I got a show. All right, so things are still a little bit tense here, but I got to get around and interviewing people. I showed you what was going on. Just to recap real quick, it was a law enforcement appreciation rally here at Centennial Park in Fort Myers. And they were just here to just say, hey, law enforcement, we appreciate you. A Black Lives Matter protest, counter protest came in. They came in quietly, silently, peacefully, and just sat down, and they've just been here the whole time quietly and peacefully. They've been getting yelled at, but that's what kind of happens at these events. There's a lot of anger, a lot of emotions, especially when people here are paying their respects to fallen officers. So tensions are high, obviously. So I will definitely have a vlog working on this for tomorrow, so stay tuned.
From the first Civil War to Vietnam War, and now we are in a civil war, ladies and gentlemen. But I can tell you this, you saw all these politicians out here. This is a very critical election.
So just your name real quick and kind of speak up a little bit. So
My name is Chantel Rhodes.
Want to spell it for me?
CHANTEL PINELLAS.
And you represent who?
I represent the peaceful protesters in Beacon.
Tell me a little bit about today.
So today we wanted to show up in the spirit of love, to stand for our cause, not to stand against law enforcement, but we want to stand for a cause that we truly believe in. And you see us here in red and black, and we're showing up in a spirit of love. We're not arguing, we're not having shout outs and debates. We are here to show up in the spirit of love, to not disrupt what they're doing here, to encourage law enforcement officers. That's not our agenda. But our agenda is to stand firm in our mission, and we believe that Black Lives Matter.
Tell me a little bit about just what you felt like you guys accomplished by coming out today, and how you feel about today.
Well, I feel like we stood for what we believed in. We stood in the face of opposition. People were saying things about us that we know are not true, but we chose to remain silent. And we at this point, we want our silence to speak for us. We've been speaking up for quite some time, and this was an opportunity for us to listen as well. We wanted to hear what people would say to us, how they would react towards us, and we wanted to hear the message that was going forth today. Would it sound threatening? Is there something that we are not understanding, that we can work a little bit harder to try to understand the other side? Because I truly do believe that we all love America, and that's what brought us all here today.
Anything else you'd like to add that we didn't discuss that you feel like you want to express? Great, thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Backing the blue met with Black Lives Matter protests. Dozens gathered in downtown Fort Myers on Police Appreciation Day. It's your big story tonight. Thanks for watching ABC 7. I'm Megan Miller. For the most part, both of these demonstrations today stayed peaceful, but our Jessica Babb was there when some clashes broke out. Jessica.
The protesters kept to the side and stayed silent. Organizers say they didn't want to disrupt the law enforcement rally. There were a few tense moments, but overall, everything was peaceful. Many people at the law enforcement rally say they are supportive of their right to protest. In the midst of voices came the silence, sparking a different sound.
You guys want to defund the police? Here, take your f***ing signs back.
Our mission is just not to be loud. We don't want to disrupt. We don't want to just be angry. We want to understand, and we want to be understood.
We wanted to show a real strong solidarity.
Protesters silently sitting on the side of the law enforcement rally.
The decision to remain silent was a response to all of the talking that we've been doing for quite some time. We also wanted to hear what would be said to us, and we wanted to hear the message today.
But everything stayed peaceful. Many at the law enforcement rally even showing support.
Oh, I think it's wonderful. I think everybody has a voice, and I encourage them to express their voice.
If you have issues with law enforcement, protest all day long, as loud as you possibly can. But you got to keep it peaceful.
When it comes to the call for change, Stephen and Fort Myers Mayor Randy Henderson say defunding police isn't on the table.
We need to get up every day and continue to reform, learn about best practice, be the best that we can, and make sure that we are protecting citizens.
We're standing in love, we're standing in peace, and we welcome each and every one of them to the table to have a conversation with us.
One of the organizers of the law enforcement rally says government is another avenue for change. That's why candidates running for office came to talk with community members at the rally. He wanted people to learn where they stand as the next election rolls around. In the studio, Jessica Babb, ABC.
I hear from you. I want to hear all the issues, and when we do hear all the issues, it'll bring us all together.
Backing the blue. That was the goal in downtown Fort Myers today. The group saying thank you to the men and women who serve our communities.
But during the rally, a group of Black Lives Matter protesters joined silently with a message of their own. NBC 2's Jessica Babbs in studio as the groups met face to face.
The protesters kept to the side and stayed silent. Organizers say they didn't want to disrupt the law enforcement rally. There were a few tense moments, but overall, everything was peaceful. Many people at the law enforcement rally say they are supportive of their right to protest. But in the midst of voices came the silence, sparking a different sound.
You guys want to defund the police? Here, take your f***ing signs back.
Our mission is just not to be loud. We don't want to disrupt. We don't want to just be angry. We want to understand, and we want to be understood.
We wanted to show a real strong solidarity.
Protesters silently sitting on the side of the law enforcement rally.
The decision to remain silent was a response to all of the talking that we've been doing for quite some time. We also wanted to hear what would be said to us, and we wanted to hear the message today.
But everything stayed peaceful. Many at the law enforcement rally even showing support.
And make sure that we are protecting citizens.
We're standing in love, we're standing in peace, and we welcome each and every one of them to the table to have a conversation with us.
Officers. We will not stop. We will not back down, and we don't care how many bad emails we get. We are going to fight.
Halfway through the program, a group of Black Lives Matter activists sat down across from the rally with signs to silently protest. Attenders of the rally then began to direct their attention to counter-protest the Black Lives Matter group. Group administrator Mappa Peacock told me why she thought it was important to show up today.
Yes, today was a rally for the fallen officers, but that is why we came with respect and we showed peace to a whole nother level. And I feel like we got the message clear that we're not here to start a war. We're not here to fight. We're here to unite us, and hopefully they can get the message across one day.
People continue to protest against police brutality across the country. The peaceful protests of Lee County groups saying they are still active. One member telling me the law enforcement support rally felt like a slap in the face.
I have to be here to tell them that this can't go on without opposition. Without showing that people are still being treated unfairly here, and that we will do something about it, and we will always speak up no matter what.
With a sign that said "No Justice, No Peace, Black Lives Matter," the dozen with peaceful protests of Lee County quietly walked over and took a seat off to the side as the support rally continued.
To continue to show solidarity with the Black Lives Matter movement, to continue to make sure that people are aware of the message that, that Black Lives Matter.
And they did not go unnoticed. Those who were there to show their support for police came over, chanting into megaphones as the other group continued their silent protest.
No one is free until everyone is free, and what happens to our neighbors, affects us too.
Both of the groups tell me they will continue to show support for their causes through all the tension. In Fort Myers, Andriana Shepard, Wink News Now.
Hey Sheriff County, this is Sheriff County COPWATCH. I am using any video here with under fair use if you have criticism, reporting, teaching, etc. And please donate. I do not make money from YouTube, and there are different ways to donate in the video links. Thanks.